Hey everybody, this is Eric from GameShampoo.com. Today I am going to be looking at some more Magic cards, and I forgot the deck downstairs. So I had to run up and grab that. Okay, back to the bed of Magic where it all happens. Let's try and sort these cards out a little bit here because they're all shuffled up right now. For those of you who missed it before, basically what I'm going to be doing here is just giving some examples of a few deck styles that you can do with the 2013 set and a few others. Obviously, that's not 2013. That hasn't been around for a while. This is kind of just a more casual deck, really. And the last deck that I showed had been play tested a lot, and this one has not. I'm kind of just messing around a little bit with this one. Got my roommate and I play a lot with this deck, and we don't really abide by some of the I guess dating rules. We use older cards that you might not be able to use in an official tournament capacity or anything like that nowadays. But we just play for fun around the house. Somebody is iPhoning me. Seems to happen every time I start up one of these things today. So I'll just separating everything out here, and then I will show off. Like I said, it's just basically another way to play 2013. And as you might be able to tell, this is an exclusively green deck. I do have some fun occasionally playing around with some of the colors that I put in my decks. Sometimes I like to see, alright, how do things work out? If I've even got like a white bordered card in here. I have a ton of these new Llanowar Elves cards in the closet somewhere, but I didn't really feel like digging for them when I was making this deck. So obviously, don't put in a white bordered card. Those are not valid anymore. But anyways, what was I saying? Right, just like to have fun and kind of see how feasible certain combinations of cards are, and how. See, here's a new Llanowar Elf. And how certain colors work together, or how certain colors work on their own, that kind of thing. And what I find with green generally is that they do have a lot of cards that pump out mana, but they also have probably more cards that just eat all that mana up. And so what I'm trying to do here, just for funsies, since 2013 came out, is to build a deck comprised primarily of cards that you can find in 2013, but there are a few from recent sets like Avacyn, and I think maybe even one or two from Innistrad in here as well. And I'm trying to see basically if I can just cram all of these massive powerful beast creatures that cost like 5 to 8 mana to throw out into this deck and really make it still be feasible and not just kind of have it flail and flounder around for the first, 5 to 10 turns. And so I don't know, I just kind of slapped this thing together, and it's certainly interesting to say the least. It works so far. It works okay, but in practice matches, it pretty consistently loses out to the red-blue deck, because that deck is primarily flying, and what does green have that's flying, really? So anyways, got everything sorted out. So very important when you're doing a green deck themed around the giant heavy hitters. Mana, a lot of mana. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. And 27 lands, dating back pretty old. Some of them, this one's what, like 90? No, this one's like 2002. Not as old as it looks. But, yeah, here we go. Here's a 99 one. Because like I said, we just play pretty casually around the house. So just toss in, old stuff, new stuff, whatever works. So I've split everything up. We've got, this thing is blurry. Let's see if I can, there we go. Alright, we've got Sorceries over here, and then we've got the creatures, enchantments, artifacts, instants, and the Planeswalker, Garruk. I don't know, I've heard both pronunciations. I kind of like Garruk. So let's just go over what's in here, and like I said, this is not the perfect deck. I could definitely use some more creatures with reach in here, but I did, draft all this stuff with just like the other deck, and so I'm working with what we've got here, and it definitely makes a good starting point if you're looking to make a green deck. So hopefully I can help you out and give you a few ideas. First off is a sorcery called Revive. Return target green card from your graveyard to your hand. Just pretty basic, pretty good. Then we've got Fungal Sprouting. Costs 4 mana, I almost said 3. Put X 1/1 green sap-rilling creature tokens onto the battlefield, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. Now I did say earlier that this deck loses out a lot to the red-blue deck, and that's true because it lacks flying creatures or creatures with reach, but there have been times when I was playing with this deck where it was like the most broken, ridiculous thing. I mean, people didn't even have a chance, and that is in part because of this card. And so there are a few combinations with a particular creature card in here that are just totally ridiculous, so I'm just going to set that aside for a second. I've got Predatory Rampage. Creatures you control get 3/3 until end of turn. Each creature your opponent's control blocks this turn if able. So basically, with this card, you're going to want to equip it. Or, well, I mean, you don't equip it, but you're going to want to cast it and power up all of the already powerful beasts and hydras and worms that are in this deck. And it'll basically, the title says it all, it'll wipe out what other people have because the creatures in here are already so powerful. Adding this is almost overkill. It just forces them to block you, and it ends up giving you almost a clean slate next turn. We've got Rampant Growth, and we've got a couple of those in here. I think we've got actually 3. Yeah. 3 Rampant Growths in here. This is simple. Just search your library for a land card, put it into play tapped, and shuffle your library. Just because, like I said, it's always important to get out mana when you're playing with such heavy hitters. And so you want to get that out as fast as possible. And finally, we've got this sorcery right here. Prey upon target creature you control fights target creature you don't control. Again, that's just, it's like a lesser predatory rampage. Just if there's a pesky creature that your enemy has that you want to kill off, it's a good way to do it. Let's go over to the enchantments. Got this. This is an old one. This is from this is from the 2000 set. I don't remember what that one was called, but it's a good one too. I like it a lot. It only costs 4. Living terrain. Enchanted land is a 5/6 green tree folk creature that's still a land. So when in casual play, this is one that I like to whip out because it only costs 4 and it gives you a 5/6. That's pretty solid, even by today's standards of Magic. And we've got a Rancor here, which I love the name of this. Just want to drop somebody into the Rancor pit. Enchanted creature gets +2/0, has trample. When Rancor is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, return Rancor to its owner's hand. Again, I mean, green's always been pretty good about powering their creatures up, so just want to make those creatures that are already strong even stronger. Then we've got the artifacts. We're going to start off with Gilded Lotus. You tap Gilded Lotus. It costs 5 to play. You tap it and add 3 mana of any one color to your mana pool. You'll notice that is, well, I guess astute Magic fans or older Magic fans will notice that is the same effect as the infamous Black Lotus card. And I've got... come on. There we go. I've got 4 in here. Because, hey, you want all the mana you can get. And those will certainly give it to you. So those are great cards. They're just... I mean, it's easy to see why the original Black Lotus got valuable, maybe not that valuable. I mean, thousands of dollars. Kind of nuts for any piece of paper, but great card nonetheless. Speaking of which, we have this little gem here. I'm not completely sure. Akrama's Memorial, one or the other. This costs 7 to play. This card is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. Creatures you control have flying, first strike, vigilance, trample, haste, and protection from black and from red. So basically, that's the you win card. Especially in this deck, where creatures are ranging from, 4/4 to, I mean, there are a few that are basically as strong as you want them to be. And, I mean, if they have flying alone, that's enough to kind of break them. But to give them first strike, vigilance, trample, haste, and protection from black and red, I mean, if you get to the point with this deck where you play this card, you are invincible. Just about. Pending. Hexproof is the only thing that really lacks that it could use. I threw this in here, the Explorer's Scope. Whenever a equipped creature attacks, look at the top card of your library. If it's land, you may put it into the battlefield tapped. I threw that in there just because, I'm trying to get as much mana out there as possible, as soon as possible. It's just a common card, but it can be quite helpful in certain situations. And we've got the Ring of Colonia. Excuse me. Equipped creature has trample. If it's green, put a 1/1 counter on equipped creature at the beginning of your upkeep. So it's the same as those other rings that were in the blue and red deck, but for green creatures, and it gives them trample, which is always helpful. And I mean, never hurts to power up your guys. And then finally, for the artifacts, we have the Vessel of Endless Rest. This is from Avacyn. When it enters the battlefield, put target card from a graveyard on the bottom of its owner's library, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool with a tap. So same thing. Basically, you just want to build up some green mana. And, the sooner you can do that, the better off you are with this deck. or any similar deck really. This guy's he's a foil, so I'm trying not to blind everybody. Sheltering Word costs 2. Target creature you control gains hexproof until the end of turn, and you gain life equal to that creature's toughness. Normally, it's just a common card. It doesn't sound like anything incredible. However, this, like the Fungal Sprouting, can completely break the game in this deck if you play it at the right time. And we've got Primal Bellow. Target creature gets 1/1 until end of turn. For each forest you control. It only costs 1 to throw out. So, with all this forest over there, this can be a pretty nifty card. Now we go on to Garrick. He's the Planeswalker in here. He starts out with 3 loyalty counters. He costs 4 mana to play. Add 1 loyalty counter and untap 2 target lands. He's green. He's a beast master of sorts, so that's just a natural kind of ability for him to have. -1 counter, put a 3/3 green beast token creature into play. It's always helpful. -4, creatures you control get 3/3 and trample until the end of turn. He doesn't have the best Planeswalker abilities, I'm going to be honest here. But he is a very nice addition to the deck. Because let's say you only have 4 mana now, you have 6. You can throw out Beast. You can give your guys 3/3 and trample. Power them up for a preliminary strike, something like that. He can be very useful, even if he's, in my opinion, not the best Planeswalker by far. Then we've got Garrick's Pack Leader. He's a 4/4. He costs 5 to play. Whenever another creature with power 3 or greater enters the battlefield under your control, you may draw a card. In this deck, that's almost every creature, so you're going to find yourself drawing a lot of cards. Then we've got the next creature. This is Champion of Lambholt. She's from Avacyn as well, and she costs 3 to play. She's only a 1/1, but creatures with power less than her cannot block any of the creatures you control. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, put a 1/1 counter on Champion of Lambholt, and that includes tokens as well. And I do believe. So I'm just going to go ahead and set her over here with these guys. We've got a Thrag Tusk. He costs 5 to play. He's a 5/3. When he enters the battlefield, you gain 5 life. When he leaves the battlefield, you put out a 3/3 green beast token creature. So, nothing super special, but he is a very solid card. We got another oldie here. This one is from 2003. Krosan Drover, I want to say. He's a 2/2. He costs 4. Creature spells you play with converted mana cost 6 or more cost 2 less to play. So a 6 becomes a 4, effectively. And so on and so forth. It's almost invaluable if you're playing casually and you have a lot of big guys. Got Garrick's Companion. This is actually from the M12 set. He's just a 3/2 trample. It's a 2 shot. Just helpful to have the occasional smaller converted mana cost on the creatures in here, because you really don't want to be sitting there for the first couple turns. You've got Gang of Elk here, another old card. It costs 6 to play. Whenever a creature blocks it, it gets 2/2 until the end of turn. It's naturally a 5/4. That's going to be a real thorn in your enemy's side, just because they do have to do that extra calculation of the Gang of Elk getting 2/2 until the end of turn whenever it attacks, basically, and is blocked. And Llanowar Elves, these guys are, they've been popping up everywhere for a long time, and they're going to continue to pop up everywhere, I think, in, many Magic sets. You just tap it, add 1 to your mana pool. It's pretty basic. Let's see. This next guy here is particularly fiendish. It's the Elder Scale Worm. It costs 7 mana to play, and it's a 7/7 with trample. When he enters the battlefield, if you have less than 7 health, you have 7 health now. As long as you have 7 health or more, damage that would reduce your life total to less than 7 reduces it to 7 instead. In other words, when this guy's out there, you can't die. As long as you have 7 or more life, you have 7 or more life. Or 7 life, I should say. We've got another Thragtusk over there, same as the other one. We've got a Plaka Worm. He costs 7 to play as well. He's a 7/7 trample. When he enters the battlefield, you gain 7 life. When he's put into a graveyard from the battlefield, you draw a card. It's a helpful way to heal yourself, perhaps drag yourself back into the fight and prolong things for your enemy a little bit, while also giving them kind of a nasty few numbers to deal with down there. And we've got the Engulfing Slagworm. This guy's from the Eldrazi set. He costs 7 again as well, and when he enters, or when he blocks or becomes blocked by a creature, you destroy it. So kind of like Death Touch, and you gain life equal to that creature's toughness. So not only can basically this guy can kill anything that attacks it, but you also get the life of the creatures that died attacking it. So pretty brutal. Another Llanowar Elf. Got this Nightshade Peddler in here, and I'm going to admit, this guy's from Avacyn. He's really only in here because I couldn't really think of anything else to throw in that was low cost. He's 1/1 Soul Bond, and when he's bonded with another creature, both have Death Touch. I mean, it's nice. It's a nice little way to defer people from attacking you, but, you know, he's far from necessary in the grand scheme of things. Next is the Wormcoil Engine from the Eldrazi set. I love this guy. I have a bunch of him. 6/6 for 6 mana. Death Touch, lifelink. When he dies, basically he splits into 2 3/3 tokens. One has lifelink and one has Death Touch. You've got a Somberwald Dryad. She costs 2. She has Forest Walk, meaning that she's unblockable as long as the defending player controls a forest. She's a 2/2. Again, this is kind of a just like, okay, well, I'm looking for a low mana cost thing to throw in here that doesn't totally suck. But Forest Walk, that is a nifty ability, and I have managed to drain guys pretty well just on the basis of that little lady having Forest Walk. We got the old Llanowar Elves in there. We really should probably replace that. It annoys me that there's one white barriered card amongst all the black barriered cards. Here's a Terra Stomper. He costs 6. He's an 8/8. He cannot be countered, and he has Trample. Simple as that. And we got another one of the Dryads. We've got this Argothian Elder. He's 4. You tap him to untap 2 lands. So basically, you know, he's almost acting as a sort of mana source. He's replenishing mana you've already used. Next up is the Colonian Behemoth. He costs 7 to play. He has Shroud, meaning he cannot be the target of spells or abilities. And he's a 9/9. Next up is this guy. I like this guy a lot, and I'm not really completely sure why. Acidic Slime. He costs 5 to play. He's from M13. His Death Touch, and he's a 2/2. When he enters the battlefield, destroy target artifact, enchantment, or land. I guess I just really like cards that mess up other people's land. Really. I like wiping out people's land, making sure they don't have many options. Kind of a dick move, but failing that, you can destroy an artifact or enchantment as well. Pretty useful. Next up is the Colony Hydra. He costs 8 forests normally, but he costs 1 forest less for each green creature you control. Meaning that, let's say you have a bunch of tokens out there. Hypothetically, you could end up paying 0 to cast this guy, which is very nice. He's a great power player in, excuse me, in any heavily green-focused deck. Next up, I have 2 of these guys. One of them came out of the booster pack, tragically bent. I don't know what happened there. Elvish Archdruid. He costs 3, 2 forests, 1 generic. Other elf creatures you control get 1/1, and you add 1 forest to your mana pool for each elf you control when you tap him. There are not a ton of elves in this deck. I think there's like 7 or 8. So naturally that would be better in a more elven-focused deck. But like I said, I was kind of just adding what I got from a draft and then augmenting that with a few older cards. And he does prove to be quite helpful because, he's an elf, so even if he's the only one out there at the time, you can still tap him and get at least 1. Next up, we've got another one of the Dryads. And we've got 2 of my personal favorite cards in this deck. First up is another oldie but goodie from '99, it looks like. Multani Marrow Sorcerer. He costs 6 to play. You see he's got little stars down there for his power and toughness. And I think in today's lingo, those would just be zeros. But basically, he has power and toughness each equal to the total number of cards in all players' hands, and he cannot be targeted by spells or abilities. So that's going to be a real killer if you are playing in a game with more than just yourself and one other person. If, for example, you are playing some kind of, party game styled variant, like I was playing Star with this deck one time, and there's 5 people in the game, and he had power and toughness equal to all of the cards in all of their hands, myself included, meaning that if each of us had 5 cards in our hand at the time, he'd be a 25-25. And the tricky thing about this guy is that you've got to really keep track of the cards in every single person's hand. So when somebody plays something, you've got to take off a 1/1 counter. Somebody draws, you add 1. It's kind of a pesky card, really, but also quite powerful, potentially. Excuse me, I had to take a drink there. Finally, the next one is Liege of the Tangle. I really love this guy too. He costs 8. He's an 8/8. He has trample. But as if that's not enough. And I just want to... Whoa, it's getting super blurry. Zoom that out. I just want to say, he's from Rise of Eldrazi too. There we go. What is up with that set? There's some ridiculous cards in that set. Anyways, costs 8, 8/8, trample. Whenever he deals combat damage to a player, you may choose any number of target lands, as if you're not going to choose all of them, you control, and put an awakening counter on each of them. Each of those lands is an 8/8 green elemental creature for as long as it has an awakening counter on it. They're still lands. So, like I said before, there's 24 lands in this deck. Potentially, you're talking pretty close to endgame anyway, since this guy costs 8 to throw out. You could have up to 24 8/8 green elementals, not to mention that he is an 8/8, plus you'd already have, plenty of other stuff out there. It's kind of nuts. But the final creature I added in here he's from both M12 and M13, and he may have been in a few others, I'm not sure, I'm not completely certain. This is basically the piece de resistance of this deck, and as I take cards out, add cards, and tweak it, he's based on my based on my play testing of it with friends and roommates and stuff, he's definitely going to be the centerpiece of this deck. The Primordial Hydra. You could actually get this guy if you bought the Xbox 360 version of Duels of the Planeswalkers 2013. I believe it was the Xbox 360 version. Yeah, it was. And you can see this is actually the 12 version, because I played Duels of the Planeswalkers on the PC, so I got a Sarah avatar. But he's in 13 as well, and I really should have more of him in here, and I might work on that. Costs at most 3 to throw out, or at least 3 to throw out, at most as much as you want. Primordial Hydra enters the battlefield. He's a 0/0 with X 1/1 counters on it. At the beginning of your upkeep, double the number of 1/1 counters on Primordial Hydra. Primordial Hydra has trample as long as it has 10 or more 1/1 counters on it. So, by itself, that is a great card. He doubles in power and toughness every time you take a turn. At the beginning of your turn, too, which is nice. So, by himself, he is pretty great. But, in combination with these 3 cards, you win, basically. I mean, naturally, in Magic, almost nothing is a guaranteed win, except for maybe Battle of Wits. But, I mean, you can see the potential. For example, target creature you control gains hexproof until the end of turn. That would be him. Then you gain life equal to that creature's toughness. His toughness can be as high as you want it to be, as long as you can wait it out. I mean, when I realized that this deck could potentially be really good, I was playing in a game with several people. I had this guy out here, and I had managed to keep him alive long enough for him to have, I believe it was like 1,052 life or something like crazy like that, and or power and toughness, and we were kind of at a stalemate because my opponent had out a, Platinum Golem or whatever, that his life total can't change. So, I could swing with Primordial Hydra. He has trample, but it wouldn't actually take away all of his life, any of his life. But I throw this guy out there, and bam, I have 1,052 plus life now. It's ridiculous. Or this one, same kind of deal. Put out X 1/1 creatures, green Saproling creature tokens specifically, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. That's a crap ton of tokens, potentially. Creatures with power less than Champion of Landhold's power can't block creatures you control whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control. Put a 1/1 counter on Champion of Landbolt. If you use her in concert with this little guy, when you put out all those tokens, now, and in concert with this guy, I should say, now you've got this guy who is ridiculously strong, this lady who is ridiculously strong +1/1, and an absurd number of tokens on the battlefield, and nobody can block you. So they're basically done. Anyways, that's my green deck. Still working on it. As you can see, there's some older cards in there, and there's some placeholders, because I'm still not 100% on just really where I want to go with some of the things. I mean, now that I've been playtesting it, I definitely would like to get some more Primordial Hydras and make them the centerpiece of the deck. But just to give you guys a few ideas of some ways to use some of the newer cards that are kind of interesting or super messed up powerful, I feel like it could work. Just needs a little bit of tweaking. Anyways, thanks for watching through all that. Hope you got an idea or two, and Tune in next time for more.